Howdly doodly, neighboroonie. I hope you're doing well. So, the YZ2 Fatty has officially accumulated 4 hours on it, and I figured it was only appropriate for me to give my feedback and my thoughts on all this gear, you know? So for now, we're gonna what I think I'll do is I'm gonna move the camera kind of top down view so I can really show you exactly what I'm talking about with my gear and stuff. All right, yeah, so that being said, I'm gonna get you. All right, welcome to Purple Town. Just kidding. This is an airbrush booth that I built for airbrushing. Here, I'll show you. Here's my airbrush. Very nice, very pretty. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about dirt bike stuff. First things first, my knee braces. These are Mobius X8 knee braces, right and left. Hold on. Yep, right and left. I would highly recommend these. They're a little bit on the pricier side of things. This piece here is replaceable. So is this inner, like the knee part, right? I replaced mine with, I think, like the medium thickness one. I don't exactly remember. This is the smallest block, and what the block does is it determines how much, like you can do a bigger one, right? So that you can only have this much range of motion. I wanted like as much range of motion as possible, so I left the smallest block. You know, they don't really restrict motion, minus when you're trying to start the bike. When you're trying to get your leg up to kickstart the bike, it's a little tricky to actually get your leg onto the Kickstarter to kick it. But when you're actually on the bike and hitting bumps and going through corners and moving around on the bike, I don't see any issue, no compromise of mobility. It's just really maybe getting on the bike, right, and starting the bike. Those are two things that these make just a smidge more difficult. But that's, in my opinion, well worth the sacrifice. You know, you get used to it as you break them in. It all gets a lot easier over time, just like anything. So they are like numbered. You're supposed to put them on in a certain order, but I don't know if that really matters. I don't always do it in the exact order you're supposed to. This is like a really neat part of this. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the Mobius wrist brace. It's a very similar thing like this, where it's like an artificial tendon. And this hugs the back of your knee really nicely. And the way that you tighten it is with this cable routing system. It's super neat. You pull this little tab up, right? And that's what loosens the cables. You would then put your leg through, right? Doi. You do up the straps, and then you tighten this, right? Which is super cool. Your leg just feels a lot more stable in something like this. You know, it kind of gives you that confidence to push through corners and to kind of really get on the bike. And again, it really doesn't restrict mobility, at least I would say. You know, I just have no problem dancing around, moving on the bike. That's just me, you know. Some people may think differently. I'm a huge fan of knee braces. After my motorcycle accident, my right knee is super cooked, so I kind of, I don't want to say I rely on these, but I would not ride without them. I used to have a set of EVS ones. They were more knee guards than knee braces. But again, having 4 hours of ride time with these, I would recommend them to anybody that's considering them. Second thing is next. The next thing is second. This is the Mobius X8 wrist brace. It has the same cable routing system as the knee braces. See? Now, this is something that we wear over your gear, so you would have a jersey and a glove underneath, but I'm just showing you. It did come with another liner that is for one finger, but I seen a lot of the reviews, people saying that they tear it, so I opted just to put this on straight away, and I like it a lot. It's super comfortable. You don't really feel it at all on the glove. So you can see it doesn't really restrict your wrist movement, more or less support it and kind of give it like a brace. I have a huge habit of kind of over extending and leaning too far forward on the bike, where this kind of forces me to not make this L with my wrist, and it keeps your wrist straight. So much so that I hurt this wrist a while back in a motorcycle accident, which is the biggest reason I purchased this one. However, it's so useful in the sense of keeping your wrist secure that I'm considering buying a second one for my right wrist, just because of how stable you feel. The only thing I would say, and a heads up if you are considering purchasing something like this, I have a small wrist, right? So this is a small medium. And again, it fits great, but here is where the dilemma lies. My wrist, it told me to measure my wrist here, right? Now, I don't have the beefiest forearms in the world. However, my wrist is small. The brace, everything about this fits amazing. This strap that wraps around my forearm, not that I'm the most jacked dude in the world, but I have some meat on my forearms, right? So I have the strap that it came with halfway through the label, kind of folded over itself, and it does work for me. But if I were to pull this and actually use the full strip of Velcro, you could see what it's doing to my arm. Now, if you ride motocross, you know that this is just that's asking for arm pump, just straight away. Feeding it halfway through, just like this, and folding it here, I've had no problems. It stays loose, and even with my jersey, it doesn't give me an issue. I consider just going to Michael's and getting some Velcro and like making my own strap a little bit bigger, or trying to purchase the large or medium large strap for the small wrist brace. But I don't know if anyone else has had that issue. If anyone has and they want to let me know, super cool. If they haven't, well, whatever. Something to look out for if you are looking to purchase this wrist brace. But aside from that, game changer in terms of grip on the bike, position on the bike. I like it a whole bunch. So, and then to take it off is the same thing. You just pull this tab back, kind of bend your brace, right? And the cable's loosen, right? And then you just be diligent about taking these off. That way you don't tear it. That's kind of what I've done. So, same thing with the gloves. Not really a big issue. Welcome back to this view. I just figured this was a little bit easier for me to show you my helmet. This is the Bell Moto 10 spherical. I absolutely love this helmet. This is my second Bell. I've had a Bell Moto 9 Flex before this. So this is a full carbon helmet. It weighs 1,600 grams, which is about 3 pounds. It's super comfortable and it has crazy airflow. So I'll come over here so you can see. Okay, so all of these are air ducts, which feel the air going through the helmet, and it's unreal. So this helmet is on the pricier side of things as well, but I am a huge advocate for what's your head worth. It's a super comfortable helmet. I would highly recommend it. That's what that's the shape of my head. So if you have a similar shaped head, I think one of these will fit you super great. Now, the last thing I'm going to chat about is my boots. Now, they are dirty. This is the CD Crossfire 3 SRS boot. I absolutely love this boot. It's my second set of them. The only reason it's my second set is I haven't had a bike in like 5 years. And this is right, so I needed new boots. I was wearing a set of Gairns. They were the SG1s, I want to say. That's the name of it. I'm not, if I'm wrong, I'll put the correction right here. Super good boot. Definitely a lighter boot than this. This is more on the heavier side of things. However, I think that this gives you a very good, stable feel on the bike. I'm a huge advocate for this boot. I would definitely recommend this boot to anyone who's looking into the Crossfire series. I know that they came out with another boot that's very similar, but it's supposed to be a bit lighter. Again, I like how bulky that boot is. I think that's kind of a big reason I like it. Is the boot itself is narrow, but the pucks on it kind of give it that bulky feel, right? But I happen to like the way that it feels quite a bit. This thing is straight out of an anime armor. Motocross gear basically is anime armor. I mean, look at this stuff. All S rank, S tier armor, my opinion. So after 4 hours of seat time with this gear, those are my thoughts and opinions and such. It did rain a bit today, so I'm not 100% if we're riding tomorrow.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not.
These are my boots. Do you like them? Tell me you like my boots.